Students, one of you have asked some questions in the comment box related to mechanism of action of sulfonamides. So, in this video, we are going to see that questions and also the answers for that. The first question is, what is the enzyme responsible for converting dihydroteroic acid into dihydrofolic acid? It is a good question. The answer for that is, already we have known the dihydroteroic acid would be converted to dihydrofolic acid. Here, this dihydroteroic acid, that is added with L-glutamic acid and also ATP. Here, one molecule of ATP would be taken, and that would be converted to dihydrofolic acid plus ADP plus one molecule of inorganic phosphate by means of the enzyme called 7,8-dihydroteroate L-glutamate ligase, that is ADP forming 7,8-dihydroteroate L-glutamate ligase, that is the name of the enzyme. We have known the structure of dihydroteroic acid. This is the structure of dihydroteroic acid. Already we have seen that in mechanism. So, what is the heterocyclic ring present here? That is called as pteridine. So, what is meant by pteridine? Fusion of pyrimidine with pyrazine, that can be called as pteridine. Okay. So, in the structure of pteridine, there may be double bond between here and here. What would be the numbering? Numbering starts from here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, in the case of pteridine, there may be double bond between 7 and 8. That would be absent here. So, by replacing the double bond, actually what happens here, two hydrogens will be added between 7 and 8. That's why it is called 7,8-dihydro. This is steroic acid. No, by the addition what happens here, OH combines with H and removed as water. That's why this C double bond, that carbon has to connect with NH. That's why we got that. So, this is called dihydroteroate. Dihydroteroate. This is glutamic acid. That's why L-glutamate ligase. What is meant by ligation? Ligation means tying. So, these two would be tied and we are getting dihydrofolic acid. So, that's why the name of the enzyme is 7,8-dihydroteroate L-glutamate ligase. Second question is, how trimethoprim selectively inhibits dihydrofolate reductase of bacteria, unlike methotrexate that inhibits the dihydrofolate reductase of humans? That is an excellent question. The answer for that is, the trimethoprim, that's affinity for bacterial dihydrofolate reductase is several thousand times greater than its affinity for human dihydrofolate reductase. That's why it selectively inhibits bacterial dihydrofolate reductase. For this, for clear understanding, we can see the types of dihydrofolate reductase inhibitors based on the affinity and activity. It would be classified into 4 types. The first one is bacterial dihydrofolate reductase inhibitors. The examples are aditoprim, brodimoprim, iclaprim, tetroxoprim, trimethoprim and trimethoprim polymyxin combination. Second type is fungal dihydrofolate reductase inhibitors. Example is trimethoxate. And third one is mammalian dihydrofolate reductase inhibitors. Examples are aminopterin, methotrexate, pralatrexate, trimethoxate, pemetrexate and rallitrexate. And the last one is protozoal dihydrofolate reductase inhibitors. Examples are proguanil, pyrimethamine, trimethoprim and trimethoxate. If it is a bacterial dihydrofolate reductase inhibitor that selectively inhibits the dihydrofolate reductase of bacteria. Similarly, if it is a mammalian dihydrofolate reductase inhibitor that will selectively inhibit the dihydrofolate reductase of humans. That's why this mammalian dihydrofolate reductase inhibitors are acting as anti-neoplastic agents. In the case of protozoal dihydrofolate reductase inhibitors, for example proguanil and pyrimethamine, they are acting as anti-malarials because malarial disease, that is the protozoan disease. That's why they are acting as anti-malarials. Trimethoprim is also having some affinity to dihydrofolate reductase of protozoans. That's why it is coming under protozoal dihydrofolate reductase inhibitors, and that is responsible for some side effects of trimethoprim.